Welcome back to Edzy, your personal AI tutor for CBSE students. Today we are revising CBSE Class 11 Chemistry, Chapter Some Basic Concepts of Chemistry. This is an extended episode, roughly 30 to 60 minutes. So settle in comfortably, you may listen passively or keep a notebook nearby if one is available. I am Gaurav and with me is Swati. A student from Pune, Ria, once said she could solve equations but did not know which unit or concept to begin with. This episode is designed for exactly that problem. We will move from matter and measurements to significant figures, chemical laws, atoms, moles, percentage composition, stoichiometry, and exam checks. You do not have to memorize blindly, listen for the reasoning behind each step.
And please, do not feel that you must remember the whole chapter in one breath. We will keep asking small questions. What is matter? Why is a mixture different from a compound? Why do units matter in a calculation? When does a reactant become limiting? If you're traveling, doing household work, or simply resting, passive listening is perfectly fine. If you have a notebook, write only the key definitions and formulas when they become clear. The aim is to make the chapter feel organized rather than overwhelming.
Here is our learning map. First, chemistry as the study of material substances and its importance in daily life. Then the nature and classification of matter. After that, properties, measurement, SI units, density, temperature, scientific notation, significant figures, accuracy, precision, and dimensional analysis. We will then connect the laws of chemical combination to Dalton's atomic theory, calculate atomic, molecular, and formula masses, and use the mole concept. Finally, we will discuss percentage composition, empirical and molecular formulae, balanced equations, stoichiometry, limiting reagents, and solution concentration.
So keep one question in mind throughout. How does chemistry convert observations about substances into reliable numbers and relationships? That single question connects almost every part of this chapter. If a definition sounds familiar, do not skip it too quickly. Class 11 questions often test whether you can distinguish two closely related ideas and apply them in a calculation.
Let us begin with the central definition. Chemistry is the branch of science that studies the preparation, properties, structure, and reactions of material substances. Notice the four parts: how a substance is prepared, what properties it has, how it is structured, and how it reacts. A strong answer should include these ideas instead of writing only that chemistry is the study of chemicals.
A useful way to feel this definition is through familiar changes. Curd forms from milk, vinegar forms from sugarcane juice kept for a prolonged time, and iron rusts. These examples show that chemistry is not restricted to a laboratory. It helps us describe substances and the changes they undergo in ordinary life.
The chapter also presents the historical development of chemistry. Early searches included the philosopher's stone, or Paris, which was imagined to convert base metals such as iron and copper into gold, and the elixir of life, imagined to grant immortality. These searches did not produce those goals, but they encouraged investigation of materials and processes.
The Indian contribution is an important chapter point. Ancient Indian knowledge included metallurgy, medicine, cosmetics, glass, dyes, and other chemical processes. Chemistry developed through traditions such as alchemy and hydrochemistry during 1300 to 1600 CE. The chapter mentions Rasayan Shastra, Rastantra, Raskriya, and Rasvidya as names associated with chemistry in ancient India.
The source describes evidence from Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, including baked bricks, pottery, glazed pottery, gypsum cement, faience, and metalwork. It also refers to glass objects, copper and iron extraction, dyes, perfumes, fermentation, and medicinal preparations. The exam point is not to create a long historical story. Remember that chemistry has practical roots and that ancient India contributed to chemical knowledge and techniques.
The chapter mentions Acharya Kanda, also known as Kashyap, who proposed very small indivisible particles called Paramanu. This idea appeared centuries before Dalton. It is useful because it shows that the idea of matter being built from small units was present in Indian philosophical thought as well. Do not confuse this historical discussion with Dalton's later experimental atomic theory.
Chemistry also connects with weather patterns, the functioning of the brain, computers, industries, fertilizers, pesticides, drugs, soaps, detergents, metals, alloys, polymers, and new materials. It contributes to healthcare, food production, national economy, and environmental work. The chapter gives examples such as cisplatin, Taxol, and AZT, and discusses alternatives to CFCs that damage the ozone layer.
Quick recall. What are the four things? Chemistry studies. And what are the two famous searches connected with early chemistry? Take a few seconds mentally. The answer is preparation, properties, structure, and reactions. And the philosopher's stone, an elixir of life. This is a small example of active recall. Retrieve first, then check.
Now we enter the first major scientific idea, matter. Matter is anything that has mass and occupies space. A book, pen, pencil, water, air, and living beings are examples because they have mass and occupy space. In an exam definition, both conditions matter. If you mention only one, the answer is incomplete.
Matter exists in three physical states in this chapter: solid, liquid, and gas. The differences are explained through the arrangement and movement of constituent particles. In a solid, particles are very close and arranged in an orderly fashion. In a liquid, particles remain close but can move around. In a gas, particles are far apart and move easily and rapidly.
Let us connect particle arrangement to properties. Solids have definite shape and definite volume because their particles have little freedom of movement. Liquids have definite volume but no definite shape because they take the shape of their container. Gases have neither definite shape nor definite volume and completely occupy the available container space.
Here is the check. If a liquid is poured from a glass into a bowl, what changes and what remains the same? Its shape changes because it follows the container, but its volume remains definite. If a gas is transferred, both its shape and occupied volume can change. The particle model explains the observation instead of making it a list to memorize.
The three states are interconvertible by changing temperature and pressure. On heating, a solid usually changes into a liquid and the liquid changes into gas or vapor. In the reverse direction, cooling changes a gas into a liquid and further cooling changes a liquid into a solid. The word usually is worth noticing. Write the sequence clearly in an answer.
A common mistake is to say that particles in a liquid are far apart like particles in a gas. The chapter says liquid particles are close to each other, but they can move around. Another mistake is to say that a gas has a fixed volume. It does not. It expands to occupy the available space in the container.
अब तक हम फर्स्ट मेजर आइडिया कवर कर चुके हैं. Matter is defined by mass and space, and its state depends on particle arrangement and movement. Before moving ahead, state the three properties allowed: solid, definite shape and volume; liquid, definite volume but no definite shape; gas, neither definite shape nor definite volume.
Now let us classify matter. At the bulk level, matter is classified as mixtures and pure substances. A pure substance has constituent particles of the same chemical nature and a fixed composition. A mixture contains particles of two or more pure substances called components, and the components may be present in any ratio.
Mixtures may be homogeneous or heterogeneous. In a homogeneous mixture, components mix completely and are uniformly distributed throughout. Sugar solution and air are examples given in the chapter. In a heterogeneous mixture, composition is not uniform throughout and different components may sometimes be visible. Mixtures of salt and sugar, or grains and pulses with dirt, illustrate this idea.
Let me test the distinction. If the composition is uniform throughout, which type is it? Homogeneous. If it is not uniform, which type? Heterogeneous. Do not decide only by whether you can see the components. Uniform composition is the central criterion, although visible components can be a useful clue.
Components of a mixture can be separated by physical methods. The source names handpicking, filtration, crystallization, and distillation. This is different from a compound, whose constituents cannot be separated into simpler substances by physical methods and require chemical methods. That separation distinction is frequently useful in classification questions.
Pure substances are further classified as elements and compounds. Particles of an element contain only one type of atom. These particles may exist as individual atoms, as in sodium or copper, or as molecules, as in hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen gases, where two atoms combine to form each molecule.
A compound forms when atoms of two or more different elements combine in a definite ratio. Water and carbon dioxide are examples. A water molecule contains two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom, represented as H2O. Carbon dioxide contains one carbon atom and two oxygen atoms, represented as CO2.
The properties of a compound differ from those of its constituent elements. Hydrogen burns with a pop sound and oxygen supports combustion, whereas water is used as a fire extinguisher. This is a very important conceptual contrast. A compound is not simply a physical mixture of the properties of its elements.
Let us summarize the hierarchy. Matter may be a mixture or a pure substance. A mixture may be homogeneous or heterogeneous. A pure substance may be an element or a compound. Elements contain one type of atom, while compounds contain different elements in a fixed ratio and have properties different from their constituents.
Your quick challenge: sugar solution, oxygen, water, and a mixture of salt and sugar. Classify each one. Sugar solution is a homogeneous mixture, oxygen is an element, water is a compound, and salt with sugar is a heterogeneous mixture. Notice how the classification depends on composition and chemical nature, not on whether something is familiar from daily life.
Every substance has characteristic properties. Physical properties include color, odor, melting point, boiling point, and density. Chemical properties include composition, combustibility, and reactivity with acids and bases. The key distinction is whether observing or measuring the property changes the identity or composition of the substance.
So, color and boiling point are physical properties because they can be observed or measured without requiring a chemical change. Combustibility and reactivity are chemical properties because studying them involves chemical change. If a question asks you to differentiate, include both the definition and one suitable example for each category.
Quantitative measurement is essential in scientific investigation. A measurement is represented by a number followed by a unit. For example, the length of a room may be written as 6 meters, 6 is the numerical value, and meter is the unit. A number without a unit does not communicate a complete physical measurement.
Earlier, different systems such as the English system and the metric system were used. The scientific community needed a common standard. So the International System of Units, abbreviated SI, was established in 1960. Standardization allows measurements made in different places to be compared and used reliably.
The 7 SI base quantities and units are length, meter mass, kilogram, time second, electric current, ampere, thermodynamic temperature, Kelvin, amount of substance, mole, and luminous intensity candela. Their symbols are M, kg, S, ek, mol, and cd. Learn the quantity unit symbol relationship carefully.
The National Physical Laboratory in New Delhi maintains national standards of measurement for India. This connects the idea of a unit to actual scientific practice. Standards are compared with those maintained by institutes in other countries and with international standards. The purpose is dependable measurement, not merely memorizing an institution's name.
Mass and weight must be distinguished. Mass is the amount of matter present and remains constant, while weight is the force exerted by gravity and can vary from place to place. The SI unit of mass is kilogram, although gram is commonly used in laboratories because chemical quantities are often smaller.
Volume is the amount of space occupied by a substance. In the SI system, its unit is cubic meter because volume is related to length cubed. In laboratories, cubic centimeter and cubic decimeter are common. A liter is also widely used for liquids, although it is not an SI unit. Remember that 1 liter equals 1000 milliliters and 1000 cubic centimeters equals 1 cubic decimeter.
Density links mass and volume. Density equals mass divided by volume. Its SI unit is kilogram per cubic meter, written as kgm to the power minus 3, though grams per cubic centimeter is common in chemistry. Greater density indicates that particles are more closely packed, according to the chapter's explanation.
Temperature may be expressed in Celsius, Fahrenheit, or Kelvin. The Kelvin is the SI unit. The relationship with Celsius is K equals degrees Celsius plus 273.15. Celsius can have negative values, but negative temperature is not possible on the Kelvin scale as described here. Keep the unit and scale visible in numerical work.
Up tak we have connected properties with measurement. A useful answer frame is name the property, classify it as physical or chemical, state whether chemical identity changes, and mention the unit if it is quantitative. This structure prevents vague answers and helps you show the reasoning clearly.
Measurements are never perfectly certain because instruments have limitations and the observer may introduce variation. Chemistry, therefore, needs a sensible way to represent very large and very small values, and also the uncertainty in measured values. This brings us to scientific notation and significant figures.
Scientific notation writes a number in the form n multiplied by 10 raised to n, where n lies from 1.000 and above to 9.999 and below, and n is an integer exponent. For example, 232.508 becomes 2.32508 multiplied by 10 squared. The decimal moved 2 places left, so the exponent is positive 2.
For a small number, 0.00016 becomes 1.6 multiplied by 10 raised to minus 4. The decimal moved 4 places to the right, so the exponent is negative 4. Your quick check is simple. A number greater than 1 usually has a positive exponent when written in this form, while a number between 0 and 1 has a negative exponent.
For addition and subtraction in scientific notation, first make the exponents the same, then add or subtract the coefficients. For multiplication and division, use the rules of exponents. Do not add coefficients while ignoring the powers of 10. Writing every intermediate step helps prevent an exponent error.
Significant figures are meaningful digits, all digits known with certainty, plus one estimated or uncertain digit. If a result is written as 11.2 milliliters, 11 is certain and 2 is the uncertain last digit. Significant figures communicate the reliability of a measurement. They are not decorative zeros added to make our answer look precise.
The rules are worth learning carefully. All non-zero digits are significant. Zeros before the first non-zero digit are not significant. Zeros between non-zero digits are significant. Ending zeros are significant when they are to the right of a decimal point. A number such as 100 is ambiguous unless scientific notation makes the intended significant figures clear.
In scientific notation, every digit shown in the coefficient is significant. Thus, 4.01 multiplied by 10 squared has 3 significant figures, while 8.256 multiplied by 10 raised to minus 3 has 4. Exact counted numbers, such as 2 balls or 20 eggs, are treated as having infinite significant figures because there is no measurement uncertainty in the count.
For addition and subtraction, the result cannot have more digits to the right of the decimal point than the measurement with the fewest such digits. For multiplication and division, the result should have no more significant figures than the quantity with the fewest significant figures. These are different rules, so read the operation before rounding.
Precision and accuracy are also different. Precision means closeness among repeated measurements. Accuracy means agreement with the true value. Measurements can be precise but not accurate. Accurate and precise, or neither. So, if values are close to one another, that tells you about precision. It does not automatically prove accuracy.
For rounding, if the first digit removed is greater than 5, increase the preceding digit. If it is less than 5, leave the preceding digit unchanged. If it is exactly 5, the chapter describes the even-odd rule. Leave an even preceding digit unchanged and increase an odd preceding digit by 1. Apply the rule only after identifying how many figures are required.
Mini quiz. How many significant figures are in 0.0052, 2.005, and 0.200? The answers are 2, 4, and 3. The first zeros only locate the decimal. The middle zeros are significant. And the final zero in 0.200 is significant because it is to the right of the decimal point.
Dimensional analysis, also called the factor label method or unit factor method, converts a quantity from one unit to another. The central idea is to multiply by a factor equal to 1, arranged so that the unwanted unit cancels and the desired unit remains. Treat units like algebraic quantities, multiply, divide, and cancel them zibly.
For example, if 1 in equals 2.54 centimeters, then 3 inches can be multiplied by 2.54 centimeters divided by 1 in. The in cancels and the result is 7.62 centimeters. The correct unit factor is the one that places the required unit in the numerator and the given unit in the denominator.
The same reasoning can convert days to seconds. Multiply by 24 hours per day, 60 minutes per hour, and 60 seconds per minute. For 2 days, the numerical result is 1,72,800 seconds. In an exam, the chain of units is as important as the final number because it demonstrates why the conversion is valid.
If you are unsure whether a conversion is correct, inspect the units before calculating. If the original unit does not cancel, the factor is inverted. This simple habit catches many mistakes in length, volume, time, and concentration conversions. Around this point, a short EDSI revision challenge can help you practice unit cancellation without memorizing a conversion chain.
We are now entering the laws of chemical combinations. These laws describe how elements combine to form compounds. The chapter includes the law of conservation of mass, law of definite proportions, law of multiple proportions, Gay-Lussac's law of gaseous volumes, and Avogadro's law. These ideas prepare the ground for Dalton's atomic theory.
The law of conservation of mass was given through Lavoisier's careful studies. It states that in physical and chemical changes, there is no net change in mass. Matter can neither be created nor destroyed. In a chemical equation, the total mass of reactants equals the total mass of products when the reaction is represented correctly.
The law of definite proportions, associated with Proust, states that a given compound always contains exactly the same proportion of elements by weight, irrespective of its source. Natural and synthetic samples of cupric carbonate were described as having the same percentages of copper, carbon, and oxygen. The phrase fixed composition is the key.
The law of multiple proportions applies when two elements form more than one compound. The masses of one element that combine with the fixed mass of the other are in a ratio of small whole numbers. In water and hydrogen peroxide, the oxygen masses combining with 2 grams of hydrogen are 16 and 32 grams, giving the ratio 1 to 2.
Gay-Lussac's law states that when gases combine or are produced in a chemical reaction, they do so in simple ratios by volume, provided all gases are at the same temperature and pressure. The chapter gives 100 milliliters of hydrogen combining with 50 milliliters of oxygen to form 100 milliliters of water vapor, a volume ratio of 2 to 1 to 2.
Avogadro proposed that equal volumes of all gases at the same temperature and pressure contain equal numbers of molecules. This helped explain gaseous volume relationships and supported the distinction between atoms and molecules. A common confusion is to treat equal gas volumes as equal masses. The law refers to equal numbers of molecules under the stated conditions.
Quick recall: conservation of mass concerns total mass, definite proportions concerns a fixed compound and fixed mass ratio, multiple proportions concerns different compounds made from the same two elements. Gay-Lussac concerns simple gas volume ratios at the same temperature and pressure. Avogadro concerns equal molecular numbers in equal gas volumes under the same conditions.
Dalton published his atomic theory in 1808. It proposed that matter consists of indivisible atoms. Atoms of a given element have identical properties, including identical mass. Atoms of different elements differ. Compounds form when atoms combine in fixed ratios, and chemical reactions reorganize atoms without creating or destroying them.
The theory explained the laws of chemical combination. But the chapter also notes its limitations. It could not explain the laws of gaseous volumes or the reason atoms combine. This is an exam quality point. A theory may explain important observations and still have limits. Do not present Dalton's theory as an explanation of every chemical fact.
Atomic masses are relative values. The present standard is CARBON 1, 2, assigned an exact mass of 12 atomic mass units. One atomic mass unit is 1/12 of the mass of one CARBON 1, 2 atom. The unit AMU has been replaced by U, known as unified mass. These definitions should be written carefully in numerical and theory answers.
Many elements occur naturally as more than one isotope. Their average atomic mass considers both isotope masses and relative abundances. For carbon, combining the abundances and masses of CARBON 12, CARBON 13, and CARBON 13 and CARBON 14 gives an average atomic mass of 12.011 U. Therefore, periodic table atomic masses are generally average atomic masses, not necessarily the mass of one isotope.
Molecular mass is the sum of the atomic masses of all atoms present in a molecule. For methane, CH4, it is the mass of one carbon atom plus 4 times the mass of hydrogen. For water, H2O, it is 2 times the atomic mass of hydrogen plus the atomic mass of oxygen, giving approximately 18.02 U.
Formula mass is used for substances such as sodium chloride that do not contain discrete molecules in the solid state. Sodium and chloride ions form a three-dimensional structure. So NaCl represents the composition and its formula mass is the atomic mass of sodium plus the atomic mass of chlorine, approximately 58.5 U.
The mole is a counting unit for microscopic entities, just as a dozen counts 12 objects. One mole contains exactly 6.02214076 multiplied by 10 raised to 23 elementary entities. The entities may be atoms, molecules, ions, electrons, or another specified group of particles. Always identify what is being counted.
Molar mass is the mass of 1 mole of a substance in grams. Its numerical value is equal to the atomic, molecular, or formula mass expressed in U, but the units differ. For example, water has a molar mass of approximately 18.02 grams per mole, while sodium chloride has approximately 58.5 grams per mole.
Try this actively. 1 mole of water means how many water molecules? 1 mole of sodium chloride means how many formula units? In both cases, the number is Avogadro's constant, but the entity is different. Molecules for water and formula units for sodium chloride. That wording matters.
Percentage composition tells us the percentage by mass of each element in a compound. The formula is mass percent of an element equals mass of that element in the compound divided by molar mass of the compound multiplied by 100. For water, the chapter obtains approximately 11.18% hydrogen and 88.79% oxygen.
For an unknown compound, percentage data can lead to the empirical formula. Start with a convenient 100 gram sample, convert each element's mass into moles, divide all mole values by the smallest value, and convert the ratio into the smallest whole numbers. Then write the empirical formula from those whole number ratios.
The molecular formula gives the actual number of atoms in one molecule, while the empirical formula gives the simplest whole number ratio. Once the molar mass is known, divide it by the empirical formula mass to obtain N, then multiply every subscript in the empirical formula by N. Never change the ratio randomly. Use the calculated multiplier.
Stoichiometry means calculation of the masses and sometimes volumes of reactants and products involved in a chemical reaction. The starting point is always a correctly balanced chemical equation. Its coefficients represent mole ratios and also the corresponding ratios of particles. If the equation is not balanced, the later calculation cannot be trusted.
Consider methane combustion. CH4 plus 2O2 gives CO2 plus 2H2O. This says 1 mole of methane reacts with 2 moles of oxygen to produce 1 mole of carbon dioxide and 2 moles of water. It also gives the particle ratio and, after using molar masses, the mass relationships. One balanced equation carries several kinds of information.
The chapter's example asks for water produced from 16 grams of methane. Since 16 grams of methane is 1 mole and 1 mole of methane produces 2 moles of water, the product is 2 times 18 grams or 36 grams of water. The method is more important than memorizing the answer. Mass to moles, mole ratio, then moles to mass.
When a reaction mixture contains unequal amounts of reactants, the limiting reagent is the reactant consumed first. It limits the amount of product formed. The other reactant may remain unreacted. To identify it, compare the available amounts with the stoichiometric requirement from the balanced equation, preferably by converting quantities to moles first.
A classic source example uses nitrogen and hydrogen to form ammonia. The balanced relationship requires 1 mole of nitrogen for 3 moles of hydrogen. If the available hydrogen is less than the amount required for all the nitrogen, hydrogen is the limiting reagent. The product must then be calculated from the available hydrogen, not from the excess nitrogen.
Balancing equations has one strict rule: change coefficients, not subscripts. Changing a subscript changes the chemical identity of a substance. For propane combustion, balance carbon first, hydrogen second, and oxygen last, then verify every element on both sides. This sequence is a useful exam method when trial and error is needed.
Let us do a quick check. In a balanced equation, what do the coefficients tell you? They give the relative numbers of molecules or particles and the mole ratio of reactants and products. What does the limiting reagent tell you? It tells you which reactant controls the maximum product formed. Keep these two ideas separate.
The chapter also introduces ways to express solution concentration, mass percent, mole fraction, molarity, and molality. Mass percent uses the mass of solute relative to the mass of solution. Mole fraction is the moles of one component divided by the total moles of all components. State clearly which concentration the question asks for.
Molarity is the number of moles of solute present in 1 liter of solution. It is represented by M. When a concentrated solution is diluted, the amount of solute remains the same, but the volume changes. The chapter gives the relation M1V1 equals M2V2 for dilution calculations. Keep volume units consistent while substituting.
Molality is the number of moles of solute present in 1 kilogram of solvent. It is represented by a small m. Unlike molarity, molality does not change with temperature because mass remains unaffected by temperature. Molarity depends on volume, and volume can change with temperature. This comparison is commonly tested.
A frequent mistake is confusing kilogram of solvent with kilogram of solution. Molarity uses liters of solution in the denominator. Molality uses kilograms of solvent. Similarly, mass percent uses the mass of the solution in the denominator. Read the denominator aloud before beginning the calculation.
We are entering the final section now. Let us make the whole chapter into a logical chain. Chemistry studies material substances and their preparation, properties, structure, and reactions. Matter has mass and occupies space. It exists as solid, liquid, or gas, and can be classified as a mixture or pure substance. Pure substances are elements or compounds.
Next comes measurement. Physical and chemical properties are distinguished by whether chemical identity changes. Measurements require numbers and units, with SI providing a common standard. Density is mass by volume. Scientific notation handles extreme values. Significant figures express measurement certainty, while precision and accuracy describe different qualities of results.
Dimensional analysis converts units by multiplying with suitable unit factors. The laws of chemical combination describe conservation of mass, fixed composition, small whole number ratios, simple gas volume ratios, and equal molecular numbers in equal gas volumes under the same conditions. Dalton's theory connects these laws to atoms and fixed combinations.
Then remember the mass ladder. Atomic mass refers to an atom. Average atomic mass considers isotopes and abundance. Molecular mass sums atoms in a molecule. And formula mass is used for ionic formula units such as sodium chloride. 1 mole counts 6.02214076 multiplied by 10 raised to 23 entities, while molar mass is the mass of 1 mole in grams.
For numerical questions, use a reliable order, write the formula or balanced equation, identify the given quantity and its unit, convert to moles when required, apply the correct ratio or concentration relation, calculate, and finally check units and significant figures. This is general exam strategy, but it is directly supported by the calculation structure used throughout the chapter.
Final challenge. Without looking back, define matter, distinguish a mixture from a compound, state the difference between precision and accuracy, explain why a balanced equation is necessary, define limiting reagent, and write the formula for molarity and molality in words. Then, choose one numerical example from this chapter and solve it with units at every step.
Before you finish, remember one common mistake. Never change subscripts to balance an equation, and never confuse molarities liters of solution with molarities kilograms of solvent. If any step still feels uncertain, use Etsy as an exact AI tutor for that doubt, and ask it to question you step by step rather than simply showing the answer. You have now built the foundation of some basic concepts of chemistry. Revise the definitions, practice one conversion and one stoichiometry problem, and return to the chapter with confidence. I am Gaurav.
And I am Swati. Keep the learning active, close your notes, retrieve the 5 laws, explain the mole concept to a friend, and check whether your examples use the correct units. You do not need to master everything in one sitting. Steady, careful revision is what makes the chapter dependable. Thank you for studying with us on Etsy. We will meet again with another clear concept and another calm exam challenge.